All right, so we're live on YouTube, already live on Instagram, and Word Warrior. So the blurb down below here is posthumously inducted into the National Radio Hall of Fame in 2007. Richard Durham creatively chronicled and brought to life the significant events of his times. Durham's trademark narrative style engaged listeners with fascinating characters, compelling details, and sharp images of pivotal moments in American and African history and culture. In Word Warrior, award-winning radio producer Sandra D. Williams draws on archives and hard-to-access family records, as well as interviews with family and colleagues like Studs Terkel and Toni Morrison to illuminate Durham's astounding career. Yeah. So, now, of course, I have chosen this book to highlight because it's February, okay, and it's Black History Month. And I intentionally make sure I include, different perspectives throughout the year, but I am intentionally choosing books to focus on Wednesday that do recognize Black History Month, even though it isn't given that overarching theme, because, I think it should be spread throughout the year, right? But we'll highlight it on Wednesdays. I'll just look at the table of contents. And it's looking like we'll do some writing for this itinerary, right? Because he was a writer, he had very interesting characters. Super cool. Table of contents here. "12 chapters. So there's Remembering, Rural Wanderings, Chicago, Radio Beckons, Scripts and Scoops, Rare Broadcasts, Freedom, Moving On, Empowerment, Struggling to Fly, Globetrotting with the Greatest, and Black Political Power." Now, I'm thinking to go straight to Scripts and Scoops if we're focusing on writing for this itinerary. That's on page 47. Taking a little while to load. And yeah, the new website is up. I have the human trafficking itineraries up right now. I understand that's not the most romantic topic for February, but I don't know. I think it's kind of getting at the underbelly, as they say, of the realities of some Dr. Romance. But things should be making a little bit more sense and coming together a little bit more. If you go in and you look at the itineraries, you can easily go in and click to book travel or click to read the book. And I should be adding the links to book travel to the posts as well on Instagram and Facebook. So if you see an itinerary that you like and you want to book that travel and you want to help out Pagesdale, you can use that link to book your own travel. If you feel like you don't need a travel agent or you're not interested in any instructional design. Or if you decide that you do want to travel and you book the travel and you say, hey, I'd like some instructional design for this trip, then you can reach back out, you can go back to the website, and you can look for an instructional design option that works for you, whether you're a business or you're a small family. And then we can figure out how to put that together for some instructional design that goes along with the book itinerary that you chose. Because while I'm trying to get people hired, I still need to get familiar with the process so that I can bring people in and have the systems already in place and stuff like that. But I am in a place where I can start hiring, and I would like to start hiring. But just so you know, it will be commission based. So if you know anyone who's interested in Pagesdale and you'd like to work with Pagesdale with kind of a whole setup, and you know that you already have people that you can work with, then yeah, let me know and we'll see if we can work that out. And yeah, I am looking for what I started doing yesterday, and this was loading. But Scripts and Scoops, Democracy USA, Dr. Daly, and the Living Human Heart. Narrator. First, a definition. The heart. A hollow muscular organ which, by contracting rhythmically, keeps up the circulation of the blood. Pause. But when the heart is punctured, a beat, what then? Music. Tense throbs with heartbeat. Richard Durham, October 13th, 1946. Part of his writing. So Richard Durham was more than a bit anxious. As he moved through the early 1940s, he had yet to snag a full-time writing job. He became a typical freelancer, constantly on the prowl for that next writing opportunity, painfully aware that getting paid on a script-by-script basis could be a frustrating way to make a living. With his decision to apply for one particular script writing possibility, Durham's relatives and friends thought he was chasing folly. Everyone told him he didn't have a chance in a million to write for a show that had firmly lodged itself in American hearts. Galloping into millions of households 3 nights a week on the NBC network, the show was The Lone Ranger. Beginning its radio run in 1933, The Lone Ranger followed the fictitious exploits of a former Texas Ranger who protected his countrymen in the untamed West of the late 19th century. Riding on his majestic white horse, Silver, this ranger traversed the western plains, upholding the principles of freedom and justice for hardworking, law-abiding citizens. Yet in America sharply divided by race, the prospect of a black man getting paid to write about a crusading justice-seeking white man seemed far-fetched. But Durham had logged long hours as a teenager, sitting in front of the family radio, soaking up its dramatic and musical offerings. And as a young adult scriptwriter, he He had studied a wide range of radio programs. Durham probably viewed the Lone Ranger through pragmatic eyes, seeing it as a viable opportunity to earn a living with his craft. Surely the show's storytelling possibilities intrigued him. While he protected others, the Ranger character wore a facial mask to conceal his identity. It wouldn't have been lost on Durham that Negroes and other oppressed people often had to figuratively wear a mask. As Paul Laurence Dunbar's 1896 poem, "We Wear the Mask," so famously posited, in order to hide their pain and anger about societal indignities. And Durham probably appreciated the fact that the Ranger was assisted by a man of color, a knowledgeable American Indian named Tonto. Once the pair successfully neutralized the bad guys and saved the day, the Ranger belted out a hearty "Hi-yo, Silver" away. He and Tonto then rode off into the sunset amid a cloud of dust. Durham had to be pleased when he was hired, probably in July 1943, as a freelance writer for the Lone Ranger. Years later, Durham told historian J. Fred McDonald that he had been coached in writing along the theory that writing is mainly a thing of exposing injustices. I don't care whether it's the Bible, Charles Dickens' work, or what. For Durham, a writer needed to have a clear sense of right and wrong, because that is what gets the passion out of the audience. Durham embraced the old axiom: the closer you come to the truth, the more explosive the drama. Yet while Durham freelanced for the Lone Ranger, full-time employment remained elusive. His insecurity about his fluctuating income created what Clarice described as an unsettled quality in their relationship. Durham's ego may have been bruised because his wife's income sustained them. The reliability of Clarice's $100 monthly salary from her work with Illinois' Unemployment Compensation Office compared with the amorphous nature of his own earnings weighed heavily on Durham. So several times during the first years of their marriage, he left his wife. Telling Clarice that he needed time to get himself together, Durham went to stay with his friends. He once was gone for 6 months. Amorphous. I mean, what is that, like? Intangible? Like disappointing? I don't know what that word means. Okay, without a clearly defined shape or form. Yeah. Okay, so hers was like every month. Okay, all right, we're good. One of Clarice's aunts moved in with her during this separation, providing an emotional and financial support she needed. Clarice even laughingly recalled that her aunt, assuming that Dick had left permanently, was upset when he returned home. During the couple's separations, however, Clarice worked hard to keep the lines of communication open with Dick because she didn't want their marriage to fail. In better times, Clarice loved Dick's attention to detail and gestures of kindness. He would sometimes buy clothes for me that were colorful and a bit more daring than my often conservative taste would dictate, Clarice recalled. To her surprise, Clarice liked his choices. She also appreciated Dick's eye for decoration. Once I selected some rather plain upholstery material for chairs in our kitchen, Clarice said. Dick picked out more bold colors, a pretty red and blue fabric that turned out to be perfect for the space. One thing Dick and Clarice consistently shared during this period of material adjustment and sporadic discord was their commitment to education. Clarice had never wavered in her determination to be a teacher, and she started taking evening classes in early childhood education at Chicago's Pestalozzi Formal Teachers College. Dick Durham always regretted the fact that lack of resources prevented him from completing his studies at Northwestern University. So in the summer of 1943, he applied to the extremely competitive Summer Radio Institute jointly sponsored by Northwestern University and the NBC network. The Institute's primary goal, co-authored Albert Cruz explained, was to train people to meet the tremendous manpower shortage in the industry. A shortage brought on because thousands of American men served in the armed forces during World War II. Of the more than 500 applicants to the 6-week-long institute, Durham was one of only 22 men and 109 women accepted. Attendees could study various aspects of the radio industry. Durham chose the Institute's program planning course. All right, so I'm pausing here just because the first two itineraries that we have, the first one goes to a radio station, and the second one yesterday, you go to a radio station and there's a tour, and there's a radio station in DC that gives tours. So you go to the tour, you go to the station, and you're supposed to take written notes, and then you listen to one of the broadcasts, and you're supposed to draw what you remember while you were there. So that's more of a listening, right? It's more of a listening. How is your listening? It's more focused on listening during the tour. Now, the one from Monday is to also go to a local broadcasting station. I need to see if I can find a specific one to go to. But you read a chapter from that book, and then you make a broadcast. You develop your own broadcast. Maybe you record it, maybe you don't. But you put together a broadcast related to whichever chapter. Oh, that's good. So read a chosen chapter relating to a local station, right? Read chosen chapter about a local station, about a local institution. Because there were many of them in that first book. Let me see if I can open it back up. Education's Own Stations is what it's titled as. Should I take out the Invisalign? No. All right, so Education's Own Stations is the title of it for searching it on Archive, Internet Archive, but the title on the cover is History of Broadcasting, Radio to Television. And when you go through it, as I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit of information about the history of broadcasting licenses. And apparently they did this because someone decided there needed to be information on this in order to do a particular study. But it seems like, and they didn't really say what the study was, but the study might have just been, okay, what's or where are the stations that these private companies can go and hit the ground running? Now, I'm pulling that out of it. I didn't read that specifically. But based on what was here, that's what it kind of seems like what's going on. I'm just going in to see how many universities there are listed in the book. Oof. Now, the table of contents is quite teeny tiny. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 47 places on each page. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Okay? 47 times 4. Well, we've got 4 times 4, which is 1,660. We're getting up there to close to about 200. Yeah, so that's a lot. So essentially, you go through, you choose one of those options, and then you can read it. And then based on that, you can make a broadcast. Imagining you were there or out of it. I don't know. Just a suggestion. Now back to Richard Durham. Oh no, we'll just finish this page. This may also have been the first time Durham interacted with the program's other co-director, Judith Carey Waller, sometimes called the First Lady of Radio. Waller, historians say, was likely the first woman in the country to serve as a radio station manager. Because of her prior work experience in a New York advertising agency, personal friend and Chicago Daily News business manager Walter Strong asked Waller if she might consider running the station that the newspaper had just purchased. I don't know what a radio station is, Waller said. You really don't know what it is either, Strong replied. He convinced Waller to manage the station that became known as WMAQ. It made its on-air debut on April 13, 1922. Waller's vision for this new medium included a strong mix of educational and entertainment programs. WMAQ joined the NBC network in 1931, and Waller headed the station's public service and educational programming division. Durham remembered Waller fondly and believed she had been a positive influence in the radio industry. She would also play a significant role in Durham's life several years later. More immediately, however, Durham's graduation from NBC and Northwestern's 1943 Radio Institute opened new doors for him. How much you think they did? He landed writing assignments with a few of the top network radio shows of the day, including the tantalizing CBS dramatic mystery series Suspense and NBC's Ma Perkins, the 10-year-old daytime soap opera that originated at WMAQ. While his professional life expanded, Durham kept track of developments in the war-torn world around him. He'd then write vivid literary snapshots of events at home from or for his younger brothers and friends stationed in Army and naval bases overseas or throughout America. In late June 1943, Durham wrote to tell his buddy Andrew Paswell, "It's been one bloody week." He was referring to the race riots that engulfed Detroit starting on the evening of June 20. Hell is not just in the streets of Detroit, but everywhere in the atmosphere and the air, Durham penned. It'll burn the piss out of you if you take a deep breath. While summer heat, hot tempers, and vicious rumors ignited the Detroit riots, this deadly disturbance had been fueled by long simmering tensions. White workers resented the overwhelming number of Negro workers who had migrated to Detroit from the South. Blacks hated the overcrowded substandard housing they had to endure, along with the racially charged atmosphere that divided Negro and white laborers. Detroit's riots claimed 34 lives, including 25 blacks and 9 whites. Hundreds more were injured, and property worth as much as $2 million lay in shambles before federal troops restored order. Dick Durham told Andrew Pasco. Negroes are fighting at a fighting peak I never expected to see them reach in my lifetime. God, if only Du Bois had this to work with during his prime. The little guys are awakening. For once, they've got something on the ball. It's up to some intelligent organization to grab the ball and run for a touchdown. Durham thought that the numerous social, political, and religious organizations in the Negro community somehow must be brought into a central organization. In his view, organizations like the NAACP, National Negro Congress, church associations, and education and labor groups should operate within a type of federation governed by an elected body. Member groups could pool their finances to tackle issues like housing or employment discrimination, throwing the bulk of their combined powers behind each punch, Durham said. Perhaps some idea like this had been intended before, he concealed. Right. So let's go to Chicago. I've been to Chicago. Chicago is great. There's a lot to do and see in Chicago. And this will be more surrounding what he did here, right? Which was write to someone about what he was observing, right? So it says, he'd then write vivid literary snapshots of events at home for his younger brothers and friends stationed in Army and naval bases overseas throughout America. So, write. Is there a program for just writing people? In the Army? A million thanks. We collect and distribute millions of letters of thanks and support and send them directly to our active, reserve, and veteran military. Yay, we found something. Cool. So, go to Chicago. Or anywhere, right? Well, yeah, he was in Michigan, which is close to Chicago. So where would we be traveling to? Where should we go? So I don't think it really matters where we go. I'm trying to make it related to radio. Attend an event advertised by your local radio station. And then the study would be to you're just observe and engage and observe, and then just write a letter about your day to a troop and send via a million things. Now, if we've lost track on why we're doing this, okay, it's because Durham would do this. Okay, it's because Durham would do this, and you read about it in this chapter that talked about his writing, and it's right from the book. So that he would write to younger brothers and friends stationed in Army and naval bases overseas and throughout America. So there we are. So that's done. And this is our third one. And good. So I mentioned a while back that I would like to study geography a little bit if there's extra time. So I think I'm going to study a little bit of geography. That's good. I wonder if we can, before we do that, can we listen to a little bit of Durham speak? Can we hear one of his broadcasts? Right? Richard Durham? So there's a video here with the author of the book, Sandra D. Williams, but I'm going to see if we can find his voice. It might be easier to find if we just searched on YouTube. All right, so we have what he's written, right? It's not his voice, not his spoken voice, but his written voice. All right, so before I play it, I'll just read a little bit of what's here. So Durham's scripts were stirring appeals for racial equality and freedom. During a time when little was written on Black history, Durham would meticulously research the events and people in each episode to bring historical truth to light. Characters were written to cut across the pervasive stereotypes in popular culture that portrayed African Americans as clowns, menials, or slackers. In contrast, Durham's historical characters were given complex personalities that were rebellious, biting, scornful, angry, and cocky as the occasion calls for. All right. All right. And the title of it was Destination Freedom, which is what the guy just said. He just said Destination Freedom. I'm not sure if that was really audible, but yeah. So, and I'm also not sure if she was, if that one voice actress was doing both voices, but I think she was. So the voice actress was reading as though she was Ida B. Wells. All right, let me read this before we go. So, Destination Freedom was a groundbreaking weekly half hour radio drama that highlighted the accomplishments of noteworthy African Americans. The series premiered on NBC WMAQ January 27th, 1948, and ran for 2 years. The 91 original episodes were written solely by African American dramatist Richard Durham. So yeah, that's what that was. One of those. A little bit of one of those. And it seems like Louise Pruitt was the one who was voicing her. Maybe not. We have a bunch of different cast members. We have Louise Pruitt, Janice Kingslow, Oscar Brown Jr., Homer Heck, Fred Pinkard, soundtrack, and yeah, right. There you go. Let's study a little bit of geography. Now, I used to always go to Shepherd software, but you know, Shepherd software, the Flash doesn't work anywhere, or it doesn't work anymore, and I'm not sure if they've updated it to Java or not. just shepherdssoftware.com. Shepherdsoftware.com. And they have geography. Woo! Okay, so they have the ones that are currently converted. And they say keep checking back for more continents and games. So the world is here. Let's start off easy with the world. It's always good to boost confidence when you're about to go into an activity. So yeah, that's another thing with instructional design. A lot of times when you're doing engagement activities and you're kind of starting the lesson that you're going into, yeah, you should be assessing, but you also want to try to do something that's going to give the feeling of accomplishment, whether the responses are right or not. And or make sure that you can easily correct without it being a big deal. It's taking a long time to load. No, it's not. This is it. And by the way, I might need this a little bit more than I thought I did because I'm pretty good with the continents, but sometimes I get a little confused with the oceans. Okay, so all right, starting off continents. All right, Africa, got Antarctica, got Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, South America. Okay, now for the oceans. All right, starting with the Arctic Ocean. Is that one in the north or is it in the south? It must be in the north, right? The Arctic Ocean. The Atlantic Ocean. Okay. For some reason, I just always remember the Pacific Ocean is by California. Even though I grew up in Virginia, I just don't remember it as being the Atlantic Ocean. I always had to think about California. No, the Atlantic Ocean's right here. The Indian Ocean is over here by India. India's pointing right into it. The Pacific Ocean, and then the Southern Ocean, which must be under something else, right? There you go. Cool. So we're good there. Pacific Ocean. The next one, click on the correct continent or ocean. Drag each continent or ocean. Okay. Let's go to. I could do the states. Now, I'm not very good with the states. I'm not. I was trying to get myself to do this like regularly. So I don't mind. I don't mind, uh, just being honest about my lack of knowledge of states. We'll see if I can get this done. New Hampshire has a little tail, doesn't it? There's that Rhode Island. Oh, I said I'm not afraid of being wrong, right? Oh, can't we just have Vermont? Which one's Rhode Island? New Hampshire. This is New Hampshire. No, no. Wow. Okay, New Hampshire. There's Vermont. It's a V. Connecticut. This is Connecticut. Yeah. Massachusetts has a tail. That's right. Rhode Island is a really tiny one. Okay. West Virginia, New Jersey. That's Delaware, New Jersey. Maryland. Yeah. Virginia. No. Our Kansas. Where is our Kansas? Whew. Okay, hold on. I'm pretty sure it's right here. Yes. Tennessee is the one. No, right? No, that's Kentucky. Okay. Georgia is right next to Louisiana. Or is that Alabama? No, Georgia. It's Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia. I mean, Virginia, sorry, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. North Carolina, South Carolina. Alabama is one of these. Yeah. Florida, North Carolina, Mississippi, Kentucky, Indiana. Mm, yeah. Illinois, Wisconsin. Indiana, I mean. No, Indiana. Okay. I always feel like Ohio is further over than it really is. Ohio's right here. I've been to Michigan. Where is it? Nope, there it is. Okay. There's Illinois. Iowa. Nope. Iowa. Okay. No. Mm-mm. There's North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska. Minnesota is this one. I know where Oklahoma is. Yeah, I know it should be easy, but I'm really not sure. I don't remember. I think this one's Arizona. This is Nevada. Yeah. New Mexico. Arizona. Texas. Hmm. I think Montana is one of these. I don't remember. I drove through this. I think Montana's here. No, no. Utah kind of looks like a U. Colorado's the southern one. Idaho looks like an I. Oregon, Washington's all the way up there. Oregon, it's supposed to be Oregon. Alaska, California, Oh, what? And that's it. So I got an 86. Ooh, it's an unfortunate number, 86. Yeah, yeah. So not good. It'll be better next time. I have extra time next time. It'll be easy to remember 86, and so hopefully I can get up in the 90s. So yeah. So until next reach out, keep it loud.